It's 94.7 the KZND. It's Brock and the Fat Guy on the phone. Like we've been saying today, it is not Rex Manning Day. It's Jesse Leach Day on Brock and the Fat Guy. We got Jesse from KILLSWITCH ENGAGE. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. I think that's the first time someone's referred to me as being back in KILLSWITCH in an interview, so that's odd. But yeah.
I told you.
First time.
I told you.
First time after the rejoin. You've done any interview for this, or?
I did one interview for Metal Hammer, but this is the first radio, verbal. I've done a written one, but this is the first verbal.
That's all right. We'll go second fiddle.
You guys have the exclusive.
We can play second fiddle to Metal Hammer. There's no problem with that.
Yeah.
Now, Jesse, thank you so much for hanging out with us for the next hour. We are here at the show, and everybody, on our Facebook page, when we made the announcement that you were getting back together with KILLSWITCH, the reaction has just been overwhelmingly positive. Is that pretty much what it's been for you?
Yeah. No, I mean, I honestly, when I knew this was going to happen, I unplugged from the internet. I unplugged to everything because I didn't want to hear it. But all of my friends who've been able to get in touch with me, it's been very positive. So I'm just doing my best to keep my eyes focused on the job I got to do, regardless of what people think about it.
Yeah. Give us a little bit of timeline, though. Like, how long, I know they were doing auditions for everybody that wanted to audition. How long after the auditions did you make your decision? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I initially, when I read the press release that he was officially out, I think that's kind of when it hit me that this may be something I should consider. And there were a few things that were kind of making me hesitant. And one was I'd never really listened to Howard's songs with the thought in my head of, like, number one, would I want to sing them? And number two, could I sing them? And how could I do that? So
right.
I called up Adam and I was like, hey, you know what? No matter what you guys do with these auditions, I'd always do an All Averages Breathing Reunion tour. Like, just wanted to throw that out there. That was the first initial contact I gave to Adam. And shortly thereafter, I ended up calling back. I was like, you know what? I think I want to do this, actually. So I said, instead of, assuming anything, I went and called their management and said, put me on the list for the tryouts.
Nice.
So they were like, all right, so I was like, let me do this the right way. Put me on the list, and I'll be one of the many to audition.
So you actually auditioned for it?
I did. I wanted it to go through the channels. I feel like, it's one of the things where even if it was handed to me, I don't think that's the way it should go down. Because, let's be honest, this band has been a band the past 8.5, 9 years without me and writing hit songs and touring the world. So the bottom line was, who could come in and sing Howard's material?
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, I can sing the songs I wrote. That's easy, but I had to prove that to myself, and I had to prove that to them. So I was the last one to show up for the auditions. I was the last one in line.
Cool.
And I went in there and sang 7 of the songs, and I actually felt really good about it. I've fallen in love with those songs since. Because just having a different headspace about the songs, as opposed to just listening to them,
mm-hmm.
I actually listened to them thinking, okay, well, I got to sing these now. How do I feel this?
Right.
So literally just listening to them over and over again and starting to feel out what the lyrics are about and trying to relate to them as best I could. And then kind of reinterpreting certain parts a little bit, so it's my style.
Right.
Give a little more grittiness to them, just a little bit.
I can imagine is fairly difficult for you because you are such an amazing lyricist, and you're having to put yourself in a position where you're almost not being in a cover band, obviously, but you're so used to writing your own material and believing wholeheartedly in what you write, and having to get into Howard's mind and having to believe in that as well. I'm sure that is an adjustment.
Yeah, definitely an adjustment, and definitely something I've never done before.
Right.
But when I decided I was going to do it, I saw it as a challenge, and I saw it as something like, hey, number one, this could be fun, and number two, this could be a great move for me.
Yep.
And that's kind of where I've been. And I mean, in between tours, I work day jobs, and I've been working just behind a bar over here in New York City for the past 4 months, and man, the grind just gets to you after a while.
Right.
So when this thing popped up, I was like, you know what? I think it's time for a new job.
We got Jesse on the phone with us, lead singer of KILLSWITCH ENGAGE and Times of Grace. We'll talk a little bit more about KILLSWITCH, Times of Grace. It's coming up. It's Brock and the Fat Guy on 94.7 The KZND. 94.7 The KZND. We got Jesse Leach on the phone with us. KILLSWITCH ENGAGE. Now, Jesse, me and Brock were talking about this yesterday when we announced that you were going to be on the phone. And, if you don't want to get into specific details, that's cool. But there was a lot of rumors floating around about different reasons why you left KILLSWITCH at the beginning. What's the real story there?
Yeah, there's tons of them. I've actually will reiterate some of the ones I've heard, which I think are great. I've heard that I had children, and then I had to go home and take care of my children, which I don't have any. I heard that I changed religions, which I wasn't aware of that. To my knowledge, I haven't changed religions. And then there was another one, I don't remember, just ridiculous speculation. But that's because I had to be quiet about it. I had to go along with what the label needed me to say, which was based it pretty much strictly on my voice. Mm-hmm. I was having problems with my voice. Thankfully, nothing major, but just not knowing how to use my instrument properly.
Okay.
So that's sort of the original reason that was put out in the press, but that's only a very small portion of the reason. I'd say it's kind of 3 or 4-fold, but going through a bit of a depression. I had just gotten married, I was missing my wife. I was suppressing those feelings and not, feeling comfortable talking to the guys about it. We're on our first big tour, and the last thing they want is a singer complaining about their problems. Yeah. So I think for me, not being able to voice those issues and being a young guy, I was a kid back then, it just kind of messed with my head. I didn't feel like I didn't want to talk to you. I started losing my mind a little bit out there. And also, I was under this impression that, if you don't drink alcohol and, whatever, your voice is better, which, medically speaking may be the case, but as Brock can attest to on tour, it's probably good for your nerves to have a couple drinks here and there and hang out with the boys and have a good time.
Absolutely.
Because the majority of the time you're out there, you're traveling. It's tiring. It's annoying. And then when you're on stage and you're hanging out after, that's the time when you're supposed to have fun. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't doing any of that. I was avoiding all of that. So I think all that kind of contributed to me, just really finding myself in a dark place. I just couldn't deal with it. I bailed. I was losing my mind.
What is different now than back then for you?
Almost a decade of growing up, number one. Number two, finally, figuring out who I am as a vocalist and how to use my instrument and what's my style and what I'm comfortable with and what I'm not comfortable with. And more importantly, how to last, how to have longevity out on the road. Mm-hmm. The do's and don'ts and the techniques, I've learned them all. It's one of those things where when I walked away, I didn't realize the impact that would have on KILLSWITCH. I didn't realize the impact it would have on my career. Mm-hmm. But I've learned a lot since then. We have
we work a lot with local bands in town. And, it's very interesting to me, and I would love for you to elaborate a little bit on what you mean by using your instrument as a vocalist, because it's very true. There's a lot of breathing techniques and things that people don't realize, and a lot of unsigned bands, don't ever go to vocal coaches and stuff like that. So can you kind of explain that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's a complicated thing. Explaining the voice is just it's one of the things where the looser and more comfortable you are, the better you sound, which is just totally the opposite of what you'd expect doing metal or hardcore or punk, Mm-hmm. But if you're doing any of that yelling and screaming and you're tense in any of the wrong areas within your vocal region, that's a really dangerous thing, and that's how you get, swollen muscles and your vocal folds can get swollen. So yeah, there's a whole technique, and the popular one is the Venom screaming, which Melissa Cross and I, from the early days of KILLSWITCH, I learned a lot from her. Mm-hmm. But her techniques are great. But also just knowing how to warm up and warm down, knowing how to use your diaphragm, as you mentioned, breathing, making sure your diaphragm stays open, that you're not gasping for breath at any point. Also, a big thing I find on the road, which is very easy to happen, you're talking off stage, whether you're at the merch booth or you're in a noisy bar, and you are partying and talking really loud. That's usually the killer. That's usually what gets people. It's not necessarily the performance. It's you going out and partying and yelling and using your voice, not even thinking about the fact that you're probably doing damage.
Right. That's probably the worst thing, because you you get caught up in the night and you kind of forget and you're just hanging out having a good time, and then you wake up the next day and you're like, Dude.
Have either of you, as a vocalist, have either of you like been up and doing the partying thing all night and woken up the next day and had a show to do and just had no voice? And how do you get over something like that?
About 4 p.m. it comes back.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Thankfully, I haven't had to cancel a show since my departure of KILLSWITCH. I've been a very good blue-collar worker singer. I haven't forgot the clock in and out, and I haven't missed a voice. But I've definitely woken up, feeling it. Mm-hmm. And there's certain notes I'm like, I know I'm not going to hit these notes today in the set, so I'll just scream them instead. You find ways around it to modify the song, or you sing something in a lower key. Like there's a lot of last-minute tricks you got to pull out of your hat.
Mm-hmm.
We got Jesse on the phone from KILLSWITCH ENGAGE, Times of Grace. So happy that Jesse is back with KILLSWITCH. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and we'll play some Times of Grace and talk about that band a little bit. And, yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool?
Jess, you fall off the chair?
Are you cool with that?
What's that?
Did you stop talking because your voice was hurting?
No, yeah, I lost it, dude. It's gone.
More with Jesse coming up. It's Brock and the Fat Guy, 94.7 The KZND.